Hello guys, I wanna post this overview of the deck, which is my favorite right now, Sauron The Dark Lord. This is not the deck list that I created, the basic one. I actually took from Legend VD, another MTG YouTuber. You should check him out for sure. I'll leave a link to his channel and his video of this deck in the description. I just did a few tweaks over his version, and I'll just quickly go over those tweaks and also the highlight cards of this deck, which in my opinion are what makes this one very successful. And the rest of the deck list you'll find on his channel. And also I'll post my deck list here as well, obviously. So let's go over the highlights and the new additions. First one is a highlight, Pact of Negation. Very useful counterspell, especially in this deck, because you don't really need your mana during your turn if Sauron and army token is in play. You can definitely waste 5 mana to protect both of them, or like either of them, and still draw 5 cards. Say the opponent's board is clear and he casts like a big creature, and you don't have your token the ring hasn't tempted your token, so you cannot attack past it. You can just negate it, pay 5 mana, attack, and still redraw your hand, or prevent some other disasters like River's Rebuke and whatever, and still draw cards. So specifically in this Sauron deck, I feel like Pact of Negation is in his best spot in terms of at least what I have played in Historic Brawl, because you can definitely afford to spend 5 mana during turn, given you have already 6 to cast Sauron. Then second one is Mission Breathing. Very versatile thing which allows you to recast spells, and also I particularly like this over the creature that can that gives you flashback on spells, because you can surveil too. Say during the opponent's turn he populates the board, and you know that you need a board wipe that you already cast, but you're missing mana, for example, like you need 2 extra mana for Mission Breathing. You can cast it during an upkeep, surveil, get your land, draw it, and you'll still have the spell to cast during the turn. Or just use it for, for just surveil in general, if you really need it, if you really need to draw something specific. Next one is Call of the Ring. That's by far the best card in the deck, and that's what makes it go over the top really quickly. And I'm surprised that it was not in original Legends build, because this is insane. It, even without creatures on the field, it gives you like it tempts the ring for you, so whenever you do have a creature you can almost immediately have the modes of the temptation. So say you have a haste creature like Goldspan or Glorybringer, you can immediately, well, first of all you can draw immediately, which is again a lot of value for just 2 life, and also you'll get whatever mode it is. Say you cast it pretty early and it could tick up 4 times already, so like whenever you hit with it you draw a card, discard a card, you deal 3 extra damage, and it's an instant hand redraw if you have a Sauron and a token in play. Say you cast Sauron, pass the turn, having Cold Ring out, opponents cast something, whatever, he may cast a blocker which you cannot get past, and next turn you call the ring. First of all you redraw your hand immediately with Sauron's ability, and then you also instantly grant your token evasion to start attacking past this big creature or whatever. and to redraw the hand again if it connects. So this is insanely useful, specifically in this deck, because of the Sauron's ability and because he consistently spawns those army tokens whenever they die, whatever. Another one is, this is my new addition as well, is As Foretold. I wanted to play with this card for a long time, and I've seen actually one person playing it in the Sauron deck as well. I've met an opponent who had it, and that solidified my desire to add it to this build. Kind of works the same as, well, almost the same as Fires of Invention, which is my favorite card. But I've decided to include this instead of Fires of Invention because those prevent you from like casting any instants on the opponent's turn, and we have a lot of instants aside of a few counter spells, which I don't even mention. Like we have Prismari Command, Call Against Command, all the removal that we have, and it doesn't really work well with Fires of Invention. But As Foretold, if it takes up past 6 counters, it lets you well, besides of the what it does for the rest of the spells, it lets you cast your commander for just the tax. So if it takes past 6 counters on it and your commander is taxed, whenever you cast it, you just pay the tax instead of the full cost. So which is pretty big if your commander gets removed a few times, especially if you can cast it on turn 2 or 3. Alright, the next one is it's a highlight of the deck. It was an original build. Final of Galadriel, pretty easy. It just lets you draw an extra card whenever Sauron's ability triggers, and it's a big deal. Well, especially granted that you have like Call of the Ring and other effects which will let you redraw potentially few times per your turn, so like 1 extra card each time is pretty useful, and also it's a ramp artifact, so what's not to like about this? Another addition that I did is Yawgmoth Vile Offering, and I mean that's pretty good card on its own, but the only downside, it's legendary sorcery, so you have to have legendary creature or like another permanent, legendary permanent you control. And why it's good here is because Sauron is pretty hard to get rid of. So the likelihood of you being able to cast this Yawgmoth Vile Offering is bigger than in other with other commanders, just because he has this built-in ward, which is kind of hard to deal with a lot of times. Another addition is Gix's Command, which is like very versatile removal with all those different modes. You can wipe the board in different ways. You can get rid of big creatures on the opponent's side. You can get rid of small creatures and keep your small token if you have one by adding plus counters on it, because it will immediately go over the power of 2. So you can choose first 2 modes and save your army, kill an army of kill opponent's creatures and immediately attack and redraw your hand. So that's why it's there. It's pretty useful specifically for this deck again. Invoke Despair is, I think, a staple for any black deck, and it wasn't an original build for some reason, but I feel it's a must because first of all, it's a great piece of removal which gets rid of a lot of things or lets you draw a lot of cards, and also it's one of the few pieces that can deal with enchantments, which are a lot of them in Historic Brawl, so you want to have them. And having 4 black in the mana cost is actually not a big deal specifically for this deck again, because it has a lot of ramp artifacts which most of them produce mana of any color, and also you have things like treasures from Big Score, from Goldspan, from another card here, Spiteful Banditry. So getting to 4 black is not big of a deal most of the times. Another addition from the recent set is Virtue of Persistence, and it has two modes which are pretty useful, both of them. One is removal for -3, and it gives you a little bit of lifelink, which you don't really have much in this deck, almost not at all except Celestis. So every bit helps, and also the second part just lets you bring back Sauron from your graveyard over and over, which is pretty strong. And again, 7 mana for the second mode, for the enchantment, is not really big of a deal, granted how much ramp you have in this deck. And the last one I want to talk about is Spiteful Banditry. Just a highlight, it was an original build, and it's a new, new from the last set now. It's a removal, mass removal, which Grixis don't really have that much of, or at least the good ones without like many conditions. The only other big one I have here is Extinction Event, but it's conditional, so what if opponent has a lot of small creatures with different mana values, you're not going to be able to wipe them with Extinction Event. But this is where Spiteful Banditry comes in handy, and also it spawns treasures anytime you kill the creature, not just the first time. So like it has the rest of the deck has quite a lot of removal too. So after you cast this, you once in a while get just extra mana boost from killing opponent stuff, which might be good. That's it with the highlights and additions, and let's just jump into the games. Alright, the first one is versus Krenko. On the draw. Not ideal versus an aggro goblin deck, but so the plan for him is to give Krenko haste so he can instantly create a lot of small gobbos, which I have to avoid at all costs, because then he will run away with the game pretty quickly. Fortunately, he doesn't play anything in terms of creatures other than Goro, so I can remove him with Angrath's Rampage. Having missing lands is pretty bad. Now, it's about to get even worse here. Yep. Land destruction is pretty bad whenever you're on the draw in general, but we'll recover. And I'm just crying towards more lands right now. Another creature that gives haste, so I have to take it out. Thankfully another land, and I decide to go for Liliana instead of Sauron, just because she makes blockers, and I was thinking that it would be harder for him to remove 7 Loyalty Planeswalker at once. Oh, and also she draws me a card almost instantly if he attacks me by the virtue of my creatures dying. So Kolth is pretty big of a problem if he gets to the ultimate, which is like 2 turns away, so I have to make sure I'm attacking him. Scry to the bottom, because I need more lands again. Might as well play as Foretold, because nothing else I can play this thing.
Rise and shine!
Impact of Tremors, pretty synergistic with Red Aggro in general, but with Krenko specifically, because whenever he spawns a lot of goblins, they just instantly deal damage to the face. I was concerned of this Koth getting to the ultimate, but the guy decided to minus me.
They were a lousy servant anyway.
Presumably to attack my Lily, but I don't think it was the right move on him. And here I'm deciding if I should take a turn right now or ramp this turn. Because I could remove both creatures and Koth in the same turn, but I decided to use Time Warp to get an extra card draw here from the zombie dying. And also another tick for As Foretold, if nothing else.
Death is enlightening.
Well, we did recover from having 1 land and 1 artifact versus 4 lands for our opponent pretty well. Fire Emancipation is really bad. Now all of his things do 3 damage. With the enchantment there. And I decided to exile the card, and that was apparently a very good call, because I think he could kill me on the spot with that. I didn't do the math, because I'm not really good with math, but that was a lot of damage anyway. Here comes Krenko. Brings me for 3. Do have plenty of removal for him, though, which is good. But this Fire Emancipation is still a big problem. I'm getting lucky here to draw the Feed the Swarm, even though I'll take damage destroying it, but it's well worth it. Might as well start working on their life total. Here comes Krenko again. I'm getting pretty low here, and now he can also sacrifice any goblins to do extra damage to the face. So even if I have a removal, he can still deal with damage. So I'm actually pretty close to dead if I don't do something.
You came here with a plan.
Shared Animosity. It's not gonna do anything for me. Well, it would if I would leave the zombie tokens, but I choose to sacrifice them to remove Krenko. I didn't want to cast Spiteful Banditry because it would kill my army as well, which I want to keep to redraw the hand, because I don't think Negate is really needed here. I want a new set of cards.
I've learned much. Waste not one.
And Lily wasn't about to go off the ultimate anyway. And I just cast it here for 0 just in case, well, because I have to remove their creatures anyway. I might as well get treasures for it. Celestis, just for, basically for 1 life here. And for some card selection as well. I draw a new hand. And That's pretty secured. Celestis triggers one more time, and I want to say it was almost a savior in this match to have a Celestis trigger, because like if I didn't have this wash away, it would have done at least 2 more damage, and without Celestis I would be down to like 4 life. On to the next one. Next one is versus Atraxa, Planeswalker Proliferate deck, on the play again, which again is pretty hard, but what are you gonna do? Got some damage in form of Orcish Bowmasters, got a counterspell for something, either Atraxa or Planeswalker. Got my ramp. Also, File of Galadriel is particularly synergistic here in this deck, so I like this hand. I wanted to, like the plan was to kill maybe a ramp creature with Bowmasters, but the opponent doesn't present one, so I decided to just fire it to start pressuring him a little bit. Would be pretty bad if it was a counterspell, because this way I wouldn't be able to give Wash away for the next turn of Atraxa. I mean, not the end of the world, but could be worse. And now I can just keep Wash away. I'm more concerned about Planeswalkers than Atraxa. And here's literally the worst one that I could face right now, because I cannot attack into Natasha.
Come any closer.
And if she ultimates, it's gonna be pretty bad, because I only have a few creatures in the deck, and they are all pretty good, and then it will mill me for a bunch as well. Gix's command not gonna do almost anything here. It's gonna pass.
Beware. I know some sickening magic.
Counter Atraxa. I still don't have an answer to the Tasha ultimate. That's why I'm just firing the extra turn in hopes of just finding something relevant. And here we go. Minus bonus to deal damage.
You got lucky, that's all.
I'm also considering using Golem's Bite on Bowmasters themselves to draw an extra card on an upkeep with a File of Galadriel, because my hand would be empty this way. But decided not to do this time. I'm just gonna work towards eliminating cards from the opponent's hand, because he has a lot of them, and probably a lot of them are pretty powerful Planeswalkers. So if I just +2, I will only hit one of some good stuff from his deck, and this way I can potentially remove 2 pieces of good stuff from his hand. I was a bit scared of some flash creature or some shenanigans, and
Finally, I'm home.
that's what it was.
Keep watch for intruders.
Also didn't play Sauron because potential counterspell. I could wait and just wait my use my Golem's Bite and draw extra cards, keep plussing bolas for different things. Opponents sees that my file is actually pretty close to like giving me extra value, so he goes for it. In hindsight, it wouldn't be much better for him to go for bolas, obviously, but I can see why he did that.
May your blade strike true.
A good opportunity to use the Golem's Bite here. No real need for iteration, because I was planning to refresh my hand. Because once I cast Sauron, I can cast Golem Bite and like instantly get a fresh hand. And yeah, our opponent had a lot of scary cards in his hand, so I'm glad that I was exiling them with bolas rather than casting something from his library. Attack for
I'm
1,
never
it cannot
done
be
for
blocked
good.
because it's tempted by the ring. Because fine, I didn't lose that much because an opponent doesn't have any board presence other than this 2/2, so it wasn't that disastrous. And now I just wanna steal some fancy cards from his deck, which is all planeswalkers mostly.
Warrior Queen
We're down with that
Necromancer.
Liliana.
Good help is easy to find in war.
Can't say no to a freebie Liliana. You can duress me, it's fine. And he explodes. On to the next one. This one is versus Vorinclex. The 5 mana Vorinclex. On the play once again. Pretty horrible. I thought this hand was fine because again I could hit some ramp creatures with Orcish Bowmasters probably, and worst case scenario remove Vorinclex when Gix's command. So I decided to give it a try, and also one ramp artifact is pretty good. Starting with the mana land, obviously. Opponents never don't have best mana lands. I decided to take Spell Pierce because he might have some ramp artifacts too, which I don't have a ways to blow up right now, so I don't counter them. No play on 2, which gives my Spell Pierce a chance maybe. If not, we can start using Bowmasters here. Azusa, pretty good. on one hand, there's no point in removing Azusa, since he already put 2 extra lands in play, but with Vorinclex, which will fetch them 2 extra forests every time, I decided to just remove her. And drawing Angreth's Rampage also is good after clearing the board of small Azusa, so I can remove Vorinclex next turn. Decided to save Otawara for the time being, because I might end up using it on the Vorinclex. It goes Veil of Summer, but luckily I had my Spell Pierce. Which is kind of another highlight of the deck actually. It comes in pretty handy for just 1 mana, countering different utility stuff or ramp artifacts at the beginning of the match. Opponent has enough mana to replay Vorinclex. Which he does. Now I have enough mana to play Sauron or play Gix's Command and remove Vorinclex. Once again, deciding to leave Otawara for now, because I might end up using it to channel to like bounce something, where Sokenzan is not as useful. But I decide to go with Sauron and see what the opponent will hit with his mill. With transforming Vorinclex. He doesn't even bother attacking. Probably he thought that I might block. Which I probably would, to be honest. And he only hits 2 creatures instead of 3. So now my Gix's Command looking pretty good, and that's one of the cases which I was talking about in the preview of the deck, where you can remove stuff and still leave things on your side as well. If I wanted to remove Ogre of Autumn, for example, I could cast Gix's Command with destroy creatures with power 2 or less, but also put 2 counters on my army, so it would survive, and I could maybe attack past something. And that's what I do, well, almost that's what I do here. I have another piece of removal for Ogre of Autumn. Remove everything, attack, refresh my hand. Opponent, second part of the saga on Vorinclex has no targets for him to put counters on, and now I have Reaver's Rebuke, which is a GG. If he doesn't have any interaction. Because I have lethal on board right now. The big Vorinclex, which I'm not scared of currently. I have both bounce and removal in case he can make something hexproof, or like himself hexproof, for example. And the Kami, which is also fun. I was just counting my mana to see if it would be enough to cast both Reaver's Rebuke and Heartless Act, because again he might have some instance which could make him Hexproof, for example, so my Revisitor Beak would fizzle out, so I had to remove Vorinclex in this case. But here we go. On to the next one. Next up is Chatterfang. Squirrel tokens deck. On draw once again. Pretty horrible streak of being on a draw. And I don't have any lands, but I still decided to keep this hand because we have Ramp, Phyrexian Arena for card draws and removal, and luckily I found third land. Even though it doesn't cast Phyrexian Arena, I can at least cast Celestis. Problem of being on a draw here is my Spiteful Banditry is I don't have enough mana to cast it for a proper amount, being one land behind my opponent. And also I messed up here by not putting down the mountain, because I should have killed Gilded Readers right away, because I know this interaction in where it spawns a treasure token, and with a Chatterfang he spawns a Squirrel because of that. And here I mess up again by killing Chatterfang instead of Gilded Readers, because he can just do the same thing all over, and all I did is just tax his commander once. But now he adds more to the board. I should have killed Gilded Readers right at the beginning. But I'm lucky enough to find the extinction event here. Still cannot cast Spiteful Banditry for 3 because I'm behind in mana. So this time I decide to kill proper things and leave just the Chatterfang here. Tribute to the World Tree, pretty good one. No follow-up of this turn at least. And at least my mana is coming along here. So for now I just ramp a little bit and get my card draw going, because Chatterfang is alone so far on the battlefield. Not too much of a threat. Elder Gargaroth, pretty good one. Also draws the card off of enchantment. And that's also what I was talking about in the preview. You can use mission briefing in an upkeep, because I knew I needed to board wipe this Gargaroth, otherwise it would like draw too many cards or like spawn too many creatures and just generate a lot of value. So I had to extinction event again, but I also made sure to surveil to hit my land drop here and just set up future draws in general. Invoke Despair is pretty good because it gives me a chance to remove this enchantment that he has. And selecting odd kills both of the creatures here. Pretty good so far. Nyx Lotus is pretty annoying. But here's come Nicol Bolas. I was thinking of going Shielded first, but I don't have mana for both Nicol Bolas and Shielded, and I'm not like that low on life.
Once again.
So just decided to remove some opponent stuff and sell it.
My schemes are never ending.
Bolas gets exile himself. At least we took out one piece of removal, so maybe Shader will survive for longer now. Because I need her to offset the life drain from the Phyrexian Arena. And Parallel Lives is pretty scary, but I'd rather deny mana from my opponent because he has quite a high devotion to green now.
Your heroics are but a dream to
Opponent exiled Planeswalker. This looks like a Casualties of War, because opponent is touching every type of my permanents here, and that pretty effective, all modes. But this deck still has a lot of gas to go on.
Today's my lucky day.
Karaoke is fine, although he spawns a few creatures alongside him.
Yup, you're going down.
But I have a ways to remove this board. That's where Spiteful Banditry comes in handy.
Let us march into battle and make new comrades.
Opponent makes me sacrifice, but then again we have so much mana and ramp that it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
In fact, we have so much mana that I can replay Sauron with attacks and use Invoke Despair. Opponent keeps Parallel Lives for him to create more tokens. But that's pretty much it. And I'm up to the ultimate on Chandra.
Guess you don't need me anymore. What's that smell? Oh, it's you burning.
Going face with ability. And just by going face and removing his Chatterfang, secures lethal. On to the next one. Yet another on the draw. Yet another Atraxa against us. Planeswalker Proliferate. Mulligans to have a ramp artifact and a bit of removal, and also Planeswalker, which does both. Inquisition of Kozilek and take out cards with mana value 3 or less, so they take out my ramp. But there's another ramp artifact. And the same thing for an opponent. On his side it's better because it picks up counters from proliferation of Atraxa and various other effects that his deck has, where mine will just stay at 1 forever, or for whatever cost I cast it for, which 99% of the time is 1. Broker's Ascendancy, pretty good in his deck, but right now doesn't do anything. I decide to find a land drop and also, luckily enough, see what's in his hand. So I Inquisition first and see what I'm working with before I decide to cast either Chandra or Key to the Archive, because he could have had removal for Planeswalkers. And I go for Chandra plus Kolaghan's Command to first of all kill his artifacts so he cannot rebuke me next turn if he finds a land, and also all of his 3 cards are pretty good, so I want to make him discard, and he just scoops up. On to the next one. Here's Slimefoot the Stowaway, and we're on a play for a change. I got a fun hand with a counter magic, hand disruption, and removal in the form of Gix's Command, and I also wanted to keep the Skull of the Ring because it's one of the core pieces of this deck and does pretty well. Even though currently we have no creatures to draw cards off of, it's still gonna tick up the ring thing. I'm countering the boots here because they will be pretty annoying to deal with later. Or rather, hexproof creatures would be annoying to deal with. Other Sea Treaties, fine. Ramping a little bit. I thought it was a different Slimefoot. I thought it was an alchemy version, the one that drafts cards whenever a land comes into play, but I was mistaken. Here I only hit 1 non-creature spell that I can discard. They do have Dreadnought, which they could make indestructible, but Gix's Command gets around it by just sacrificing the highest power creature. Vindictive Vampire is fine for now, but if the opponent would spawn a lot of tokens, it would drain me very quickly, so I decide to kill it right now, even though I technically could kill it with Gix's Command later, naming destroying 2 powered creatures, but I didn't want to risk losing too much life. Sample link got buffed a little bit, but that's fine. We're still 25. Opponent has all the recursion theme here with Timeless Witness and this Imp, which they could recover spells from the graveyard, both spells and creatures. Playing Sauron here just to start making those army tokens. And again, that's where the Call of the Ring comes in real handy, because if opponent plays anything, I can replay my refresh my hand next turn. And here we go. The recurve Vampire back to the hand. And that's kind of an infinite thing here with Timeless Witness and the other card, the name of which I forgot, that they have in hand, where they can both return each other from the graveyard. But I'm not worried about it just yet, because he doesn't have enough mana to do it like every single turn. And luckily I drew Dark Ritual to just empty my hand here on the spot. And still be able to play Gix's Command, destroying 2 power creatures and putting plus counters, because otherwise my token would die. And that cleans the board nicely. And I'm already up to ring level 4 for just having Cold Ring sitting on the battlefield for a few turns. Refresh my hand, draw an extra card, and keep up going with fight. And opponent explodes. We are against Kenrith, the Returned King. Usually pretty strong 5-color deck with a lot of good stuff. It might be Planeswalkers, it might be various creatures. It might be just Kenny himself drawing cards and reanimating stuff from the graveyard with his abilities and a lot of ramp. I like this hand where we have a Counterspell for Kenny, Call of the Ring as well, Call Against Command to destroy their ramp in both forms of artifact or maybe a mana creature for with 2 or 1 toughness. And I'm wondering here if I should keep up Counterspell on 2 mana or go for something else, but seeing Giver of Runes and drawing Fire Impulse, I just go for red mana instead. Because by the time Kenrith would be about to come out, I'll have my Fatal Passage cracked already. And now also I have a Spell Pierce to counter some artifact, maybe, or some enchantment, or maybe some ramp spell like Cultivate. Cabaret Duress I'm happy to counter because it's a pretty busted card. Unfortunately didn't draw any untapped lands, so I have to crack Passage on 3. And go for Boot, obviously. and get Cold Ring going. Now I'm in a bit of an awkward spot because I would have to keep Counterspell, but on the other hand I could play Key to the Archive with if I draw untapped mana, but I would be shields down on Kenrith and I don't have a removal for him currently because Spiteful Banditry is not up the amount of mana I need to kill a 5 toughness creature yet. And unfortunately I don't even draw any mana here. Or land, rather. Opponent decides to wait on Kenny to give him haste right away next turn. And this way I can at least remove his ramp and make him discard because he only has 3 cards. Gladly drew land, so I could keep Counterspell, but Auto Tapper said no to me. Should have tapped manually. Nature's Will, so opponent doesn't go for Kenny just yet. He clearly wants to give it haste immediately. Now I'm tapping manually, just in case. And pick up a Doomblade, because it's a convenient removal at instant speed here. Now I don't have to counter Kenrith, I can just kill him. So as you can see, this deck ramps pretty well with all the artifacts, because even though we were behind on lands, I already have mana. Again, not countering Kenrith, because it can just make opponent use his mana and then just kill it. And now having 8 mana, I can just play Sauron and have a Counterspell as protection from board wipe. One ring, I think it's worth countering because it's indestructible, so my various commands, one of which I already used as well, they cannot deal with the ring, so I'd rather counter it, and opponent just scoops it up.